This is the plaintiff, Karen Steinhaus. She says she prepaid the defendant to do yard work at her house and to take down a tree. The defendant took off with her money, never came back to do the yard work. She's since found out he has a criminal past and is suing him here and now for the $1,500 she's owed. This is the defendant, Don. He says he's been in the landscaping business for 35 years. 99% of his online reviews are 5 stars. And simply put, there was no pleasing this woman. When he arrived at the plaintiff's property, it was an awful mess. He did 95% of the work and was ready to return for the tree work. Next day, it was raining. You can't do tree work in the rain. The plaintiff went on a rant, and well, here he is. He's accused of not going out on a limb for a customer. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $5,000 for money he's out.
All parties, please raise your right hands. You see it? Come to order, please. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're
Karen
welcome,
Steinhaus, you are suing Dawn. You've asked us not to mention your lawn care service name or your last name for $1,500 that you say you overpaid him and he refuses to repay you. You have a counterclaim against her for $5,000 for lost business and wages due to her trashing you on the site she found you on. Tell me what happened.
I'm a widow, and I went on a referral site online, and the only way I would have known of this defendant is that I saw him pop up, and he was the first to respond to my inquiry. He came to the property, we discussed snow plowing, but we moved forward because it was fall. I was getting ready to leave for the south, and I needed my leaves picked up. I mean, the property needed some help. This was the first year I actually needed a landscaper because I always had an adult child living home, and I didn't have any at the time.
That's why I had kids. But
he gave me a price to do the leaf pickup of $500.
This was when?
Well, I don't know the precise dates, but I know he came and did the work on the date that I wrote the check, which I believe is submitted to you, Your Honor, and that would be the 10th of November of 2014.
Of 2014.
Yeah,
okay.
So it was probably a week before that we first.
Did you have a written contract with him or no?
No, this was all
so
verbal.
what was the agreement? He was going to do what for what?
Well, he was going to do the tree. I had a large tree that I needed a branch that I didn't want to leave overhanging my house when I went away. And he was looking at that, and I wanted some grasses, clumps of grasses moved around the pool area cleaned up, and I wanted my tree taken back so it wouldn't fall on my house while I was gone.
Okay,
and,
did you tell him that?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
What are grasses moved around the pool?
Well, I have very overgrown large clumps of ornamental grass, and I wanted them like divided, and rather than all being in one area, I wanted them spread around the pool. He said no problem, and he said about $1,500 because it was so much per hour per man.
Okay, slow down.
And the leaf work, which he said was $500. So
wait, was all this you just said $500?
No. The leaf work was $500.
Okay, so that everybody's clear on that the leaf work was $500.
Right, the leaf work was $500.
And how much was he going to charge you for the other two?
$1,500 was what I was told verbally at that day was the price for the work that I had just discussed.
Which is the grasses moved around and the large tree branch. Anything else?
No.
Okay. And then what happens?
Well, what happened was Don had come on that Saturday and had done a nice job picking up my leaves. And that was the $500 that I owed him. But because he said he could do this really quickly, and I was really concerned that I was leaving soon, and I was worried about my tree falling on my house, and I was worried about leaving my property without this work done, I was really happy to get him started. So
you paid him in full, even though he hadn't started?
Yeah, I asked him how much he wanted. He said $2,000, and I don't know why. I mean, just call me stupid. I wrote him a check for $2,000.
Right, but the $2,000 was including the $500?
Was everything, was the job.
Okay, did anybody ever cut your limb?
No, because
did anybody ever move your ornamental grass?
No.
All right, when do you decide, okay, I've waited long enough?
What happened was because he didn't do it right away, he gave me time to get concerned because of my discomfort. Because every time I spoke to Don, the scope of the work seemed to change. The price was creeping up, and the scope of the work was going down. And I said,
like as in what? Those are your conclusions. Tell me what was said.
Well, I don't think I can do all that for the price I quoted.
Okay.
And so that being the case, I decided to do my own research on him. And I went online, and I found some very unsavory things online that made me definitely not want this man on my property.
Such as?
I saw in a local newspaper that he'd been arrested for stealing a pair of boots out of a clothing store. And I said,
Like recently?
2014.
Really?
Yeah. And I said...
Were you arrested for stealing a pair of boots?
I wasn't arrested.
Were you in the newspaper for it?
Not to my knowledge, no.
I can
Did
show
you
the
get into an
article.
incident that is boot-related?
A boot. There may have been a case, but I don't remember.
Can I? Well, no, that doesn't happen to me. Like people aren't like
recall.
accidentally accusing me.
I
Like,
wasn't in the paper, and I wasn't accused of.
Okay, but
having it.
what
Here's
is
the
she
paper.
talking about?
I don't. I don't know.
don't know.
I
Okay,
don't know.
let's-
To be honest with you.
Okay, how old are you?
54.
Okay. It has your name, 52, was charged with 6th-degree larceny for attempting to leave Bob's store on Saturday wearing a new pair of Timberland boots worth $159 he didn't pay for. He left his old boots in the Timberland shoebox and attempted to go through the register and pay for 2 small items before he was noticed by store personnel. He has a court date of May 16th.
Never went to court. Never.
Wait, but do you have any idea what I'm talking about there?
I never seen anything in the paper.
That's not my question.
I never had to go. I never went to court.
You're going to
for
make
it.
me get off the bench and look it up, right?
No, I don't want you to
Because
do
you
that.
kept saying, I don't know what this is about,
But
I don't know what this is, but you do know what it's about, so can you just tell me?
It was. I never went
Because I'm
back
not the
into
police. If you make me run, I get angry.
I shop there all the time. It's a local store. So what it was I was in there and I was shopping. So now I met a fellow friend of mine in there. We were talking, and I'm a landscape contractor. I put on a pair of boots, and it's the truth. So we talk and talk and talk, and my old pair of boots were in the box. I was walking out. I purchased other merchandise in there,
Okay.
not knowing what
So you
the
know
guy,
what I'm talking
the guy,
about, though.
Yeah, I know the situation.
Okay, so you know
but
what
I
I'm
didn't
talking about.
rob
What
the
happened
boots.
with that case?
So the police did show up at the store, and then I was not able to go into the store anymore. And then the
Okay.
case was thrown out.
Okay. So
That
you
was
know
it.
what I'm talking about.
Well, the incident, yes.
Okay. What
But I
happened
didn't
here
rob the
with
boots.
this? What happened with her?
I go there, I do a job, I went over and above on work that we did. The job should have been double what I charged her. The place was like a bomb.
You're talking about the cleanup.
The cleanup,
And the
leaves,
cleanup was
everything.
November 10th.
Correct. I
And the
sent a
cleanup
full
was $500.
Yes.
So now you quote her $1,500 on, is that part accurate, on the tree limb and the
No, that
moving?
was for the whole job. That was for the whole job. There was a limb that had to come down. The next 3 days
So-
were totally rainy, impossible to
I'm
climb
sorry,
a tree.
so the whole quote was $1,500?
The whole quote was $2,000.
Was she paying you $2,000 for what? Give me the list of things you're supposed
What
to
I
do
just
for
said, cleaning a total fall cleanup, cutting down underbrush in the woods, which the guys did.
That's cleanup.
Correct. Cutting all the seagrasses down.
That's cleanup.
Right. So I'm saying
Okay,
what
besides
we did.
cleanup, what else?
Then the tree. There was one limb on a large
limb.
tree that had to come down. But it was unsafe to go back the following 2 or 3 days because it was pouring rain. So I'm
Right.
not going to send the
course
tree
not.
guys up there.
Of course
God
not.
forbid he falls and kills himself. I'm not going to have that happen.
What else?
And the grass and cutting of the grasses. But we did cut the grasses.
Cutting of the grasses or separating them out
We
and
cut them
moving-
down, but we didn't specifically know where to put them, where she
Okay,
wanted them.
but part of your agreement
Correct.
was to move them around.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
What occurred? Cleanup occurred.
Correct.
Tree limb and moving them around didn't occur.
No.
Okay. Is that correct?
Correct.
All right. So what happens? Why are you keeping the entire $2,000?
Because I feel like I'm not saying we did 80% of the job.
Well, it's not 80% of the job.
The pool area was
Do
a
you guys have any
disaster.
texts back and forth regarding
No,
the
I don't
500? Do you have in writing anywhere
Yes,
that
I do,
500
but
was
not,
for?
not with the defendant.
No.
Because this became so difficult, and when I did ask my money back, he hung up on me with a woman shrieking in the background. I decided I was not going to call him
Happened to you?
again. And therefore, because I had used a referral service, I decided that was my first line of defense, was to contact them and tell them what happened. And they
The
were
referral service ended up returning 500.
No, I'll tell you what happened with the referral service. The referral service was in contact with the defendant, and that he actually said, the cleanup was for $500, and that he would be returning the difference of the services, the payment, which was $2,000. Don said things
Well,
were
the
going...
payment was $2,000, so meaning he would be returning $1,500.
Yes.
Okay. Talk to me about what happens with the referral service.
So what happened was she must have called them up and they credited her $500. Now, they
Yeah, but
shut
did
me.
they talk to you before doing
They
that?
talked to me about the work that I've done. So I told them the situation, and now
According to them, you said 2 things. 1, cleanup was 500. Did
Yeah.
you say that to them?
No.
And 2, that you would return 1,500 to her.
Not to my knowledge, no.
May I see the email? When the customer care advisor sends her an email saying that he personally spoke to you on November 17th regarding the complaint, and that you had confirmed that she overpaid and that the additional work wasn't going to be performed, that the cleanup was $500 and you'd be returning the difference, you're saying that this customer care advisor made up that whole thing?
I didn't say that to him, no.
Okay, what has that referral company done to you now?
They shut me down.
They shut you.
Because they gave her $500, and they want me to pay $500 that they paid her.
And
until that $500 is paid, no leads come into my office anymore. Because out of $500 that they credited her, they won't give me any more leads until that $500 is paid off.
May I just interject
so I have to
something?
pay them.
Yeah, you can.
He keeps referring this that they credited me. That was, in my understanding, it was a good faith payment to me because of the difficulties I had with using their service and on this referral. And no way
May I
reflected.
see something about that $500? All right, so now your counterclaim against her for $5,000. Please explain that.
I have no calls coming in for the past
so
month
you're
and a
asking
half.
to be paid $5,000 in damages because you wouldn't come up with $500 to
No, it's not
to
because
stop
I
the
wouldn't come up with
damages?
$500. It's that the money that I generate doing clean. I have a big business, so the money the calls I haven't got called in on.
In other words,
for
you
the
could
last month
solve
and a
it with
half
$500 by paying them. Why is it $5,000?
because of the money. I think I could have generated more than $5,000.
If you could have generated 10 times
I would
that,
have been
why didn't you just pay the $500?
Principle.
Well, you sure showed everybody.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. So, suppose you have a landscaper and you find out he's arrested for theft. You going to not hire him because of that?
I don't think it would bother me, but he's just mowing my lawn.
He's just mowing your lawn. You buying that?
Well, I'd want to know more details, like how long ago did it happen? Like if
Let's say he's a thief, but he's mowing your lawn like she says. Would it bother you?
no.
Bother you?
No, as long as he's cheap.
As long as he's cheap. Going inside the courtroom.
So really what this is a settlement between you and the referral
Yes,
company
that I should
for
not,
the $500.
right, that I should not badmouth.
So you cannot sue
Take
them.
them to court or whatever.
Okay, but see, when you come into court and you talk about damages, that's not something I'm not going to take into account. I am going to take that into account.
Mm-hmm.
So that would mean then that your damages have been reduced by an additional $500 because you don't deny that you got the $500 that you say
No.
of original work, and then your damages have been reduced by $500, which would mean that what you're out is $1,000, not $1,500. So on your lawsuit against him, I'm ordering you to pay her back $1,000 for the services that were never done. In so doing, I am taking into account what the customer service relations people say were your conversations with them, because I don't think that they are lying. I'm also taking into account that when I ask you questions, it's very hard to get a direct answer, okay? On your counterclaim against her for losing $5,000 in damages, 0. That is my verdict, $1,000, verdict for the plaintiff.
Thank you.
The plaintiff gets 2/3 of what she sued the defendant for, and here he is, the fastest talking defendant in People's Court history.
Oh, come on.
What's your reaction here?
You know, we do a job. Nothing was signed, nothing was written. I try to go above and beyond to help the woman out. And again, weather's a big factor in my business. It was totally impossible to do the work to finalize the job after, the 3 days of rain. And she, went back and forth with harsh words. One thing led to another. And I just severed it and, again, didn't go back, and things happened. That's why I'm here. So I guess everybody hope everything came out right, and there's no hard feelings. You know what I mean? So I tried to do the best I can, and that was it.
Period. Okay.
Did I talk slow enough on that one?
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. All right, so step on in here. It's kind of funny, but is it funny to you? Yeah, you're good. What's your feeling here?
Well, I'm really gratified because I'm old school. My dad was a blue-collar man. He was a contractor, and his word was his life, And when I see that going awry today, it's really nice to know that law still does favor.
Mm-hmm. The word is not legal all the time. Harvey?
Okay, Kurt, you should know when you are not honest with the judge about one thing, what happens is it affects your credibility with everything else. Not worth the lie.